Hello everybody, my name is Mike Engel. I'm the Fisheries Crew Leader out of the St. Louis Regional Office, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to do lake bathymetric mapping using Humminbird Fish Finder. So this is definitely meant to be a video, kind of being a step-by-step guide on how to actually go through and do everything from beginning to end. So what you need before you go out, what do you need to do while you're out on the water, and then everything you need to do after you're done. All the office stuff and all the mapping stuff. So this is definitely a video that's meant to be gone back through and listened to again. So if anybody ever needs this video, just let me know and you could have access to it. The first thing you need to do is get the actual fish finder itself. We've been using Humminbird units for this, specifically the Helix 9. We recommend the Helix 9, meaning it has a 9-inch screen over the 7, because it's a lot easier to see and do stuff on that 9-inch screen over that 7-inch screen. If you're looking to purchase one of these, you do have to go through IT. We just recently bought one and it needs an IT tag on it. So go through IT, you have to go put in bids, and I would suggest putting in a bid with Johnson Outdoors through Katie Shockley. We put one of our bids in through them, and they gave us a government discount, so we got the price down to this unit to about $1,200. You also need the Autochart Pro PC North America software. So if you purchase this, you will get a CD to download the software, and you also get an SD card. They do have an online internet-only version without the CD download, but then you also don't get the SD card that comes with it, so I would just recommend getting this specific one with the CD so you can get this SD card and not have to worry about it. Humminbird does have an Autochart PC software startup guide that could help you install the software. You will need IT approval to actually download it, and my suggestion is to keep IT on the phone because you also need their approval to download the update for Autochart. So download it, then update it right away and have them approve both at the same time. So when you have your Humminbird installed, you can go ahead and just take the SD card that came with it and you can put it right into the unit. This unit doesn't take SD cards, so you just pull a little micro SD card out of the bottom here and put it right into one of the two slots that are right under this little flap right here. So you can just go ahead, put it in, pop it in, and close the cover. Something else I also want to point out is we purchased this transducer bracket that's kind of an armor plate for it. So there's that armor plate on plop, and it is also on a springboard here. So if you're going and you run over a log electrofishing or something like that, it's nice to have something on that spring bracket so it has a chance to actually spring instead of backing into something and smashing your transducer, because it does stick out quite a bit compared to other different transducers. So it's nice to have that armor plate on there. So email me if you want any information on that. So now we are at the actual lake. This is Lake 27 at Bush Conservation Area, small lake. There's a lot of vegetation around the shoreline. We'll talk about that in a minute and how to get around that. So Humminbird does have a big 350-page Helix operations manual that does go into a lot of this information I'm about to tell you. So it's another great reference to use if you do have more questions or just want to learn more about the unit. Right now, I kind of paused this clip. I recorded this on a GoPro, and it's kind of hard to see the screen here with all the glares, so I'm going to talk over this, and then future clips will be with better lighting. I would like to start out in the middle of the lake, not towards the edge of the lake, because sometimes it could be too shallow or the vegetation will give you a really weird 500-foot depth reading and it'll mess up the software. So I like to start away from the shore, and to actually start recording, press menu. You could scroll down to Autochart, tab to the right there, and then just tab again to the right, and then it will start recording. There's other settings there you can mess with as well to change how it looks. So turn that to on, and you can see it will start recording some depth readings there. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here just to kind of show you what that looks like. So it does maybe about a 20-25 foot swath on each side of the boat as you're recording. As you move along in the boat, make sure you connect those depths and don't leave any gaps between where the lake is mapping. And generally how you want to do this is do a whole loop of the shoreline of the lake and then kind of go back in a crisscross zigzag pattern after that. So just kind of pausing it again so you could see what the beginning of this map looks like. I inserted this video here from Humminbird themselves just to kind of help show you what that process looks like when it's actively mapping, because I couldn't get good clear video. So it will look like something like this when you're actually recording. This is a time lapse of the path that I took when I was recording for this lake. Since it's playing back the recording, you don't get to actually see that red depth reading on the side of the boat, but it is recording. Like I said, I like to do a full circle as close to the shore as you can get without getting super shallow to mess up the depth reading. And then after doing that circle, kind of go back and forth, zigzag pattern. And if this was a bigger lake, it took a while to record this. You could stop there, but this is a smaller lake, so I'm actually going to go and do the other direction, kind of do a crosshatch pattern. And this way you get a lot more detail than just doing the one pass. You get different angles and it just gives you a better recording. It's a small lake, so it's easy to do as well. This is about what the map will look like on the unit when you're done recording. The whole map is linked out on the unit. To stop recording, press menu, and press menu again. You can go to the Humminbird chart tab, you can go down to Autochart and record. You could change that to off. That's just another menu to where you could stop recording. And that's all you need to do on the water itself. There is a decent user guide Humminbird has for Autochart software. It kind of gets a point across, but it also has a pretty steep learning curve. So because of that, I actually made my own little cheat sheet, step-by-step guide. So if you need a copy of that, just let me know and I will send that to you. So we're here back in the office now, and the first thing that I like to do is create a shoreline on ArcGIS Pro and then put that user-defined shoreline into Autochart. Open ArcGIS Pro. You want to make sure that you're going to want to use the leaf-off imagery. If you don't have leaf-off imagery, you can go down here to catalog, go into folders, add folder connection. You can go under your computer tab here, then go to this PC. You go into GIS data on the O drive since I'm in the St. Louis office. Then go into image layer file, click OK. Go under catalog here. You will see that now there's image layer files. Click the drop down, and then the map you want to use is DOQQ 2015. Just click that and drag it over. From there, the first thing I do is navigate to the lake I want to map. So this is Bush Conservation Area. I'm going to move over here to Bush Lake 27. This is the lake I am going to create a shoreline for. The first thing you do to do that is go back into the catalog pane, right click on the lake map shorelines, your project name. I have one project where I keep all my shorelines. So right click on that. From there click new, then shapefile. When you do that, this will open here and make that a little bigger. And under parameters tab here at the top, the feature class name you could change to Bush Lake 27. Type that in here. Then you need to go to the environments tab, and it's important you have to change the output coordination system to a very specific one. You have to use NAD 1983. That's it. That's the only one. If you choose something else, it will not work. So it has to be NAD 1983. Click OK, and then you can click Run. Then you will see on the left Bush Lake 27 popped up. The first thing I like to do here is double click on that, and it will pop up the symbology and change the color to no color, so that way it's just an outline and it makes it easier to draw the outline of the lake. From here, click Bush Lake 27, go up to Edit, then click on Create, and then click your Bush Lake 27 again. When you click on this, you could actually create your polygon now. So I'm just going to start right there and do a shoreline, and then I'll get back to you when I am done with that. Okay, so once you're at the last point, double click, should save and show you the whole outline here. You can click the finish button from there, then go ahead and click save up at the top. To export the shoreline, you right click on Bush Lake 27, go down to data, go to export features, then you want to change the output location to wherever you want it to save. I will put it in my folder that I keep for lake mapping. I have a folder of lake maps and shorelines, and then I will put it in my unrevised maps because I just keep everything here I'm not done working on yet. I will change the output name to Bush Lake 27. Then you need to go to the Environments tab here, and again you need to change the output coordination system to NAD 1983. Click OK on there. And the other important thing is you have to click under this fields box, transfer field domain descriptions. Again, if you don't have this clicked, it won't work. So, okay, and it should save the shoreline to your desktop. Then you could save and exit out of ArcGIS. Once you are exited out, I like to go back to that folder where I just saved it, and in my unrevised map, I will take the shapefile and then put it into a Bush Lake 27 folder just to make sure everything's saved right. So that's how you create the shoreline in ArcGIS Pro and save it. And before we open Autochart, one more thing I like to do is go to the SD card from the Humminbird on the computer, and the raw data that gets saved goes into the AC data folder there. So when it is still a raw file and you haven't uploaded it yet to the Autochart software, it will be a .acu file, and once you upload it, it will create a copy of an ACD file. The way you keep track of all these files is the way it's named. So it is year, month, date, and then run number of the day. So this one is 2024, August 26th, run 0, run 1, run 2, and run 3. So you can go ahead and open Autochart now. Once here, you can go to Import, navigate over to the AC Data folder, and if nothing pops up, you have to make sure the file type down here is set to .acu, since it's the raw data. And the file that I recorded for Bush Lake 27 was this one here, so we can go ahead and click Open. It will convert it. It is now an ACD file. If you notice, there's a little box that popped up over Lake 27. I'll zoom in here to show you a little bit. So this green box popped up over the lake. Now, from here, you can import the shoreline data. To do that, you don't just click import, you actually have to hold control on the keyboard while clicking it. So I'm holding control and you click import. Now you can navigate over to where you created your shoreline. And again, make sure the file type is correct for what you're trying to upload. So that's a .shp. So that should pop up. You can click that, click open, and from here, click ID, then click OK. Then for this you need to click Loop Water to Right. Then you could exit out. Now there will be a blue box around the lake. So you have a blue box and a green box. One is the Humminbird data and the other is the actual shoreline. From here, right click Map Here. You will see it has the lake is very small. Zoom in. It has a user-defined shoreline, and it also has that raw data from that crisscross pattern we did on the boat. First, what I like to do is right-click and turn on the background map. So that's down at the bottom here. Turn on the background map, and you need to go into Tools, Settings, Background Map, and I like to use USGS imagery with a zoom of 18, but it does take a long time to load, so just for now I will use the OpenStreetMap. The first thing you want to do when you come in and see your data on here is click on the settings up here, and since you did make your own shoreline in GIS, you want to change this to user-defined shoreline here. If you didn't make your own shoreline, you could use LakeMaster. It'll try and guess where it is, but it's definitely not as accurate as the user-defined data. Make sure that's clicked, and from there we can just go ahead and map the lake. I know there are some errors, but I'll just show you some of the problems to look for. So if you click that, it will create the map. It will generate a map that will look something like this. Looking at it initially, you could see that this area did not get filled in, and then also there is a random deep hole right here. So in order to fill in this area here, you could either add custom depth points because you know how shallow that water was. I know it was about a foot or two because I couldn't get the boat over there. So you can come in and add data points, or you can go into the settings and mess with the extrapolation and interpolation, which will affect how much the software will guess where it's deep or where it's shallow, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I also know that this hole right here is not actually a hole. It was just an artifact from the Humminbird depth measurements that was incorrect. Now we can go into looking at the raw data for generating the map to actually show you how to look for these things before you generate the map. So the first thing you do is make sure that there isn't any clearly wrong depth points. So if you zoom in, each one of these here is an individual depth point. So you want to make sure that there are not anything too crazy going on. So dark blue is very deep, 61 foot, so I can see that there are actually 2 points here that say that they're 61 feet deep. So this could happen because I went over vegetation, or the water had some turbulence and just messed up a point for whatever reason. I know that's wrong, so I like to delete these points out of the raw data so it doesn't mess with the map. Otherwise it will generate the hole like you saw before in the map. To delete these, what you do is left click on the point, then right click on the point, then go to trace data, and it will tell you information. So this depth point was 64 feet, and we do not want that in there because you know it's wrong, so you can delete the point and then do the same thing for this other blue point over here. 4 foot, so I didn't click the right point. So try again here. So that one is 72 feet. We don't want that, so go ahead and delete that one as well. So if you have more points that you don't want to delete individually, say there's a bunch of 60-foot points, you can go back to trace data and edit file, and you can delete multiple at once. So if you come up to this button up here, that says remove data outside set depth range, it will delete all points outside of the depth shown on the bottom here, so 0 to 61. So if you went up and you clicked that and click OK, it would delete whatever points were deeper than 61 feet. What you could also do is, say if the lake was low by 3 feet, when you were mapping it, you can come in and change all those points to be 3 foot deeper. So you come up here to move data, and then you could adjust the depth. So if the lake was low and you want to make the points deeper by 3 feet, you could click down by 3 feet, and it will actually make all those points 3 foot deeper. So it's better to adjust that in the office here instead of in the field with your transducer. So now we look for anything else, and everything else looks pretty good. So from here we can move on to actually filling in any areas that we think that the program won't map. So that includes the area up here where it was covered in spatter dock. We couldn't get the boat in there, so we can actually come in and add custom depths. And we know that this end was too shallow to get into, so we'll add depths here. So to actually add the custom points, right click on one of the depths, go down to Trace Data, you click Open File, and then there is a button up here. You click Add/Insert New Data right there. So click on that. Then you could click on a desired spot that you want to make that depth point. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I know over here is very shallow, so it's about 1 foot. So you add a point, and you can see in the top left it says 2.9 feet. So I want to change that to 1 foot. So you could edit depth, add current data point, change that to 1 foot, hit enter. So now that's a 1 foot data point. You could add as many as you want. So I'm going to add a couple more here. Just really just going to help better fill in this map here, so once it's actually generating. So I'm going to add a couple more 1 foots around the edge here. And I'm going to change this point to 2 foot, just so it helps kind of generate that map better. Add a couple more of those points. This might be overkill, but I would like to have the map generate right, and since I know these points, it's no big deal. Add another 2 foot over here, and then a couple more over here by the spatter dock where it was too shallow to get in with the boat as well. Couple more areas where I couldn't get in. So once you are happy with that, you can hit quit editing up at the top here. Click save. Once you do that, you actually have to close the whole Autochart program and reopen it. It's something very common you have to do. Anytime you make any changes to data like that, you have to close Autochart and reopen it in order for it to show. So if you're stuck and something won't update, just try closing it and reopening it. So we're back here. It loaded in with those points, so the data saved. Turn the background map back on here, and everything looks good here. There's no random depth points, so you can go ahead and generate the actual map. So click Create Map, and this is the map that generates. Look for any other weird holes or any areas that didn't fill in well. So this looks pretty good because we added all those other points. It generated down to the bottom. If you do see something weird, exit out, go back into the data, and you could delete them. So this looks good, so you could click Filter Map here, and it helps clean up some of those lines, contour lines here, smooths them out a little bit. And if you are happy with it, you could mess with a couple other settings here. You could show the bottom hardness, and you could show vegetation as well up at the top. Some of these points are a little inaccurate since we had to add some data points ourselves, but that'll show you vegetation to better view this lake here. Right now the setting is 1 foot is minimum and 61 is the max. you can come up to Find Depth Range. If you click on that, it'll try and adjust it to whatever it thinks is the best, but it's still a little shallow, so I can come in here and move max depth up and make it look a little better. So I'm going to change it to about 25 here, 25 foot, because I know the lake didn't get any deeper than that. Okay, so I like the way that looks a little better, shows the colors a little bit nicer. So I will keep it like that. You can also create a 3D map of this. So you could actually look at this lake in 3D here. It's pretty cool. You could open your settings in here, and there are a lot of different things you could change. So you could change that depth range again. If you didn't want to click up at the top a bunch, you could change it there. You can change your units. There are different options for map generation. I talked about interpolation and extrapolation, and that just messes with how much the program kind of projects and predicts that information as it generates the map. So you could mess with that. I like to add a couple points, depth points myself, since I do know that the depth is a foot or two, so that it doesn't predict wrong. You could change different colors here if you don't like that kind of red, yellow, green, blue. You could change distance apart your contour lines are. And then there are also different tools here. You can go to area volume here, so it'll give you a whole volume of the lake. So you could use that for whole lake vegetation treatments. There are also different options. If you right click, you could add and remove the scale, you could add and remove grids and survey lines and things like that. So there's a lot of options to kind of mess around with how you like your map to look. If you wanted to actually print out a map of the lake, if you go to Tools and Create Map Image, and you could just type in like 27. Let's put it on my desktop for now. When you save it, it will give you a bunch of different options, and you can mess with these and see how changing different options changes the map that saves. I'll click OK, see what that comes out to be here. I'll just quickly go to it and just show you an example of how it'll save. So that's what it looks like with those settings. So you can change that obviously and get it to look however you like. If this map is something that you are happy with and it's as good as it's going to get, at that point you can come up here and click Make Lake Master Update, and that will actually update that map onto the SD card so that the Humminbird unit can display this map when you're actually out there on the lake. So I'd say this map is good, and I will upload it here. So it's uploaded successfully. Something I like doing is going back into the raw data here, back into AC data. Since we uploaded it to Autochart, it converted to an ACD file, so I like to copy that onto my desktop and then actually put that in my folder I have here for Bush Lake 27. And then I will also do the same thing with that shoreline. I'll move that from unrevised to my final map, since it's now been converted to a ACD file by Humminbird. It's not just an SHP file anymore. So I'll put those both into my Bush Lake 27 folder here. I also like to rename the file so it's easier to remember what it is instead of it just being a file in the Bush Lake 27 folder. So I'll rename it Bush Lake 27 and keep those numbers just so it's easier to remember what day you did it on if you need to go back to it. So I'd like to thank you all for watching and hope this video is helpful to anybody thinking about getting into lake mapping, or people coming back and watching this video to help kind of walk you through stuff. I know Autochart is not the most user-friendly thing in the world, but once you kind of get the hang of things, it's not too difficult. But if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me, or if you need any other information from me about things that's shared in the presentation, feel free to reach out. I kind of know enough at this point to fumble my way through, but if you do have any other more technical questions, Chris Brook is another great contact. He does a lot of work too. So hopefully one of us two could answer one of your questions. So thank you for watching and have a great day.